So personalization is the future of avatar development. I don't like to use the word avatar because it's too general a term. Like he said, he could represent himself as an ice cream cone. I think people will really want to represent themselves in a photorealistic, authentic way, and they want to build their avatars throughout their lifetime, and they want these avatars to be a representation of the life that they live as beings here in the real world. So the name I came up with is personiform. So a personiform is a name of a particular kind of human simulation construct, which takes into account who you are and what you look like, and your facial motion capture, and your body motion capture, and your voice, and lots of very specific things to you as a human being that would be recognizable to somebody that knew you or knew you well or cared about you in life, and could represent you in the afterlife as well. And so the most important phase of VR for me is the ability to host a photorealistic construct of yourself. And VR is merely a platform from my point of view. So the most important phase is coming, and we'll get there at a point where people in our culture decide that it's important for them to digitize themselves and to go ahead with this process on an annual or semi-annual basis. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the means of doing that. So digitization is really one of the most important. It's your acquisition of the 3D surface topology texture of a live human being. There are a lot of different ways to do that. I'll show some slides of that. Facial, whole body motion capture, expression, voice movement, and human story capture, which is a little more complex. The integration and construction of the model of the person using the acquired data is also a somewhat complex task, which is becoming simpler and more automated with deep learning. Additional personal information can be linked through social data and mining and story extraction to be added to a human personality model. This is something Facebook is looking very closely at. How can they take the information that you've been voluntarily contributing to your Facebook and your other social media and use it to drive a simulation of yourself? And the simulation is of a persona form, is then animated and controlled in real time and uses a surrogate in social network context and for interactive storytelling. Can be formed live or animated through AI. So those are two means of driving your construct, is through technology that's actually capturing you in real time, almost like a future telephone or persona phone have you of the future, or a complete simulation that's totally autonomous using artificial intelligence with all the life information that you've given it. So the most important use case in my mind is posterity, your eternal record. The construct is used as a personal container to deposit your lifelong experiences, thoughts, likes, hopes, loves, dreams to be passed on to eternity to represent yourself, the life you lived. A lot of people kind of get this, and this is something they really want to do, but we haven't caught up yet technology-wise or societally in the process of accomplishing this task. Some cases, parents teach their children about storytelling and how to pass stories along. And in many cases, the only reason why you know about your grandparents is because your mother, told you about them or you met them if and when they were alive. So this is a simpler way to add data throughout your lifetime and to pass it along. And then, during our lifetime, healthcare, physical health map, your construct can build a time-variant health map of all your vital test results. Health history can be used to track, diagnose your health, wellness plan over time. Doctor-patient conversations are rather difficult. They're often abstract. They require visualization on the part of the patient, which is very difficult, in many cases a very technological task. And we look at ourselves in the mirror every day, so we understand what that means. It would be easier for us to understand test results if they were color mapped onto our body, and we could have a consultation with a physician that would take into account all the various tests and the like, and present them in a way that we could, in the words of Heinlein, grok them. And of course, entertainment. Your construct can be used to perform, entertain, advocate towards creative endeavors, including education, your life storytelling, including acting, singing, personality expression. In many cases, people are very shy or they're reticent to engage in creative endeavors that require any kind of performance. This might be a bridge in order for them to learn how to do that comfortably and in a way that they feel that they're gratified and satisfied with the results more easily. So why simulate? Believable human simulation is an easier way to express oneself, more favorable to use an approved custom-crafted version of you. Typical social engagement sites use a linear, sporadic contribution model that can lose the ability to inform and engage humans over time. Attention distraction can be minimized using interactive, believable human simulation. It's very clear that in face-to-face conversations, we engage each other and that we're very, very interested in having conversations with other people. There's a lot of empathy involved. There's lots of other kinds of communication, subliminal and human simulation addresses the needs that we have as complex individuals with advanced neurological systems that are very fine-tuned for human-to-human interaction. And that's what our evolutionary wiring is optimized for. And it's naturally acclimated towards this kind of interaction, which a construct can possibly add a great deal of value. So we have a built-in preference for this kind of interaction, and the adaptation to it will be very, very far-reaching. So this is something that I produced back in, I think, 1992. And let's see if we'll get it to play. Well, can you manually click on that? Yeah. There's some audio with that as well. Da, 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 da.
Another glimpse of the future and how virtual reality will play a part comes from Personiform of Beverly Hills, California. The company is currently developing technology to archive and simulate real people. The company motto is immortality through technology.
The whole idea of the Personiform is a varied database. It consists of a three-dimensional
Make it a little louder.
scan of your human form, your physical shape. Additionally, we're looking at using digitized acquisition of facial models, facial expressions, smiles, frowns, winks, various movements of the lips, cheeks, and things like that. We're looking at body-based motion acquisition, the way you sit, the way you bend, the way you jump, various exercises and aerobic routines we're going to record using body-based tracking technology. We're also interested in doing speech acquisition, having somebody read from a fixed template of word segments and use that to create a dynamic, multiple, real-time, re-indexable speech profile that can get the model to speak, lips to move in synchrony during simulation later on. Personiform is something that an individual will elect to create and to update throughout a lifetime. The first time they have it done is called their digital birthday. But when you go into a salon, which is essentially a scanning center, a personality acquisition center, and celebrate your first digital birthday, you're essentially frozen in time at whatever age you go in there. And if you have this done every 6 months or every year until the day you die, your Personiform can be accessed through this database or lifeline and the data line you have forever and ever. You can be accessed and simulated at any age, depending on how often you've had it updated. Creating a digital version of you that you hand off or pass on or put in the public domain when you move on to the next world, if there is a next world.
Okay, next slide. Yeah, I think we need to manually advance there. All right, thank you. So the way we accomplish this these days is with structured light, swept laser scan line, stereophotogrammetry, which is becoming much, much more accessible to these days, Google Tango and stereo scan and other kind of cloud-based solutions that can calculate 3D data from multiple photographs. Surface context sampling and multi-point outside-in photogrammetry. So here's some examples of some of these scanners. Most of these are outside-in photogrammetry, multi-camera captures that require computation to assemble the model in 3D. Another scanner here. And here's the a Google Tango-based solution, which uses a depth scanner, and you move around the model, and it acquires surface data and creates a point cloud and does the texture mapping as well. And then there's some pretty advanced solutions for facial animation. This is the MOVA system. It's being used a lot in movies. It's a pretty interesting system as well. I'm not going to show this one, but this is some of the work that's being done at USC by Hao Li and the Institute for Creative Technologies. And another thing you might want to look online when you have a little more time is 8i is a company that recently got quite a bit of funding. They are using volumetric scanning, and that's multi-point cameras that are scanning at video rates and assembling 3D models in real time of the performers. The advantage to this is in VR you can move all around the performers while they're actually doing their thing. And this is a handheld scan with a depth camera, and it's also pretty accurate these days. In the past, you had to use a lot more complicated equipment to accomplish this kind of thing. The previous speaker talked a little bit about the Uncanny Valley. So what the Persona Foundation would like to accomplish is to educate and promote technologies that take you to the most satisfactory point of the Uncanny Valley, where the human nervous system doesn't detect any kind of anomaly in the development of the or performance of the model. So there's some interesting characterizations in here. Corpse, stuffed animal, industrial robot. I guess in a virtual world, you could represent yourself as any one of them. But if you're going to leave behind a likeness that's supposed to represent you accurately, I think you want to strive for the highest level of realism that reflected who you were when you were alive in the real world. There's a rich history of this in movies, starting all the way back to Westworld with Fred Parke's Hand, moving to Looker, which is a great movie that people really need to see, that Michael Crichton produced and directed, a suspense film. Lawnmower Man had some interesting examples. Final Fantasy, the previous speaker alluded to that, is sort of the beginning of the use of this technology, which was sort of riding on in the middle of the Uncanny Valley. The Sixth Day, Simone, Polar Express, Son of the Mask, Beowulf, The Congress. There are more historically that are in here, but these are some pretty good milestones. So the terminology that we use is not set in stone. As a matter of fact, it's very difficult for people to adapt any kind of new word other than the word avatar. It's extremely frustrating. You have digital, cyber, and virtual, and then you have other word constructs that you can combine with them: simulacra, synthespian, personiform, human, cyber. So you could, any one of these: digital persona, cyber copy, cyber vector, cyber robot, virtual simulation. There's literally 100, 150 manifestations of these. Every time I turn around and I read some other publication, someone's using a new one. And they've reinvented the field all over again. So Obama was our first 3D president, by the way. I gave a talk back in 1999 at the National Association of Broadcasters, and we talked a lot about this. And after the event, I had a number of people from the government come up to me and talk to me about digitizing public officials and the president in particular, in case something ever happened and some emergency, and they had to simulate him to calm everybody down and tell them to get to the shelters or do something so chaos wouldn't happen. I was terrified by that conversation. But I think it's becoming more real. This is some of the work that ICT and Paul Debevec did with the Smithsonian Institute, digitizing Obama, the first president to actually be digitized in 3D, and at extremely high resolution, by the way, using the light stage that they developed down there. And this is a little gift for everyone here. This is a flipboard that I created of human simulation links. There's probably 100 or 150 links in there that are worth exploring. And I have some favorites in there. One of my favorite ones is the work by Dr. Mark Sagar in, I think, the University of Auckland. It's called Baby X. So what they have done there is he digitized his daughter, and he created a complete brain model with all the brain chemistry, endorphins and enkephalins and stress hormones, cortisols, all operating in real time. That's driving the facial model, driving the expressions, driving the reactive nature of the virtual child. And it also does facial tracking as well. So it looks at his face, it listens to him, it can identify objects, it can speak the objects back. It's really the cutest thing you've ever seen. And I would Google Baby X if you ever want to see it and see the whole description of what's going on there. And I think all the big companies, Google and Facebook and the like, are all looking at brain-based models combined with real-world digitized data of individuals, as well as information scraped from social networking and other kinds of voluntary inputs that people give, to all collaborate this information into a very believable simulation model of a human being. So the QR code ought to take you to that particular link there. And this particular link here, I think, will take you to the slide deck, which I just showed you, and then the last one will take you to this particular one here, which is the flipboard as well. So hopefully that will satisfy everybody for a month or longer of clicking and reading about this technology. And hopefully you'll be able to give the same talk that I gave in a year by educating yourselves in particular. So I'm excited about the future of VR and AR. I think this is important for VR and AR because we're looking at lots and lots of scenarios where we have to interact with virtual experts or want to communicate with individuals and work with them in a virtual construct, and we want to be comfortable with the interactions as well. And Microsoft, with their holoportation system, is a very good example of sort of the future telephone that we only dreamed of having in science fiction, where you could be in a room with someone else at a remote location and you can walk around them and be interacting and be right up in their face and be very satisfied with the interaction and the believability of the human simulation that's taking place. So is that it? Time out?
We're just about at the end if you want to do
Okay.
a question.
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free. Yeah. Hi.
Does, have you heard of Uncanny Valley is a serious issue, right? People
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
the avatars unsuitable or uncomfortable.
Right.
What has been found to help with that? Pheromones?
Well, the human nervous system is very evolved to for understanding and interacting with faces, and so facial movements are the key point of creating a comfort level. And if you can simulate believable facial movements, then you alleviate a lot of the anxiety that is involved in the interaction with a virtual construct. So I think facial motion capture in VR will be relatively important. The work where they're digitizing information around the eyes to determine gaze detection and eye blinking and squinting and other kinds of movement of the face and smiling and frowning with cameras when you're speaking, also tracking your mouth. All of that information can be combined into animating a construct in real time that is a much more interesting, much more fun, much more satisfying interaction with a character than one that's being driven by a number of static inputs that are just described to sort of repeat themselves over the same period of time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Greg.
All right.